The emergency transmission crackled through the Galactic Council chamber with unusual urgency. Council members from 40 different species turned their attention to the central display as the distress signal played for the third time that morning. This is Colony Station Epsilon. We are under attack by Krell forces. Civilian population of 300,000 in immediate danger. Requesting any available assistance. Coordinates attached. Minaz. Lation. End quote. Minaz. End quote. The message was simple and direct. What made it unusual was the source. Humans had only joined the galactic community 50 years ago. They were still considered newcomers. Their technology primitive compared to the elder races who had traveled the stars for millennia. Counselor Vex Thar, a tall avian with golden feathers, studied the transmission data with interest. His species, the Avirath, had been spacefaring for 6,000 years. They understood warfare and strategy better than most. Something about this human message caught his attention. "The Krell Armada," announced Kor then, the reptilian representative from the hegemony. His voice carried clear disdain. 50 warships. If our intelligence is correct, the human colony has perhaps 6 defense platforms and a handful of patrol craft. Then the colony is already lost, said another council member, a gaseous being whose words formed through controlled vibrations. The Krell do not leave survivors. We should prepare evacuation ships for any escape pods we might recover. Ambassador Jin Su stood from the human delegation section. She was a woman in her 50s, with steel-gray hair and tired eyes. She had been lobbying the council for 3 hours since the first distress call arrived. "Honored council members," Jin Su said, keeping her voice steady despite her fear. "Colony Station Epsilon houses 300,000 civilians, families, children, scientists working on medical research that benefits 17 council species. We are asking for immediate military intervention." "With respect, Ambassador," Kor then responded. "The nearest council battle group is 6 days away at maximum speed. Your colony has perhaps 18 hours before the Krell breach their defenses. Mathematics does not favor your people. Plus," Jin Su felt her hands clench into fists. She forced them to relax. "Then send what you can. Send anything. We need help." Vexisthar made a soft clicking sound, his species equivalent of a thoughtful hum. "Ambassador, I have been reviewing your transmission. There is significant data attached beyond the distress call itself. Tactical information about Krell fleet composition, shield frequencies, weapon signatures. Why include this if you believe rescue will arrive in time?" The chamber fell silent. Other council members began reviewing the transmission data more carefully. Jin Su met Vexthar's sharp eyes. "Because humans document everything, Counselor. If we fall, at least the galaxy will know what happened. At least the data might help the next colony that faces the Krell." "Practical," Vexthar acknowledged. "And yet, there is something else. This data is formatted for rapid tactical integration. Almost as if you expect someone to use it immediately." "We hope someone will," Jin Su said quietly. "We always hope." The council debated for another hour. Finally, they reached a decision. They would send an observation fleet to arrive after the estimated battle conclusion. Ships would recover survivors and document Krell war crimes for the historical record. It was, they agreed, the most reasonable allocation of resources. Jin Su returned to the human delegation office in the council station. Her aide, a young man named Park Min-ho, looked up hopefully. She shook her head. "Observation fleet only. 6 days." Min-ho's face fell. 6 days. The colony has hours. I know. Jin Su walked to the window overlooking the vast station. Thousands of species moved through the corridors beyond, living their lives in the safety the council provided. None of them were rushing to help humanity today. She pulled up a private communication channel to Colony Station Epsilon. The connection was poor, degraded by distance and interference. Admiral Park Ji-won's face appeared on the screen, haggard and determined. "Ambassador," he said, "I assume the Council's answer was no. They're sending an observation fleet. 6 days." Park nodded slowly. He had expected this. "Then we follow Protocol 7. Admiral, Protocol 7 is the only option we have, Ambassador." Park's voice remained calm. "We sent the SOS because that's what civilized people do. We asked for help because cooperation is supposed to be what the Council stands for. But if help isn't coming, then we do what humans have always done." "What's that?" Jinsu asked, though she already knew the answer. "We hold the line ourselves." The transmission ended. Jinsu stared at the blank screen for a long moment. Then, she began drafting her report to Earth. The government would need to know that humanity's first major test in the galactic community had revealed an uncomfortable truth. When it mattered most, they were alone. Back in Colony Station Epsilon, Admiral Park Ji-won addressed his command staff. The Krell fleet would arrive in 16 hours. His defense force consisted of 8 patrol ships, 12 mining vessels, 40 cargo haulers, and over 200 personal craft ranging from luxury yachts to transport shuttles. Against 50 Krell warships, it should have been hopeless. Park pulled up the tactical display. "All right," he said to his officers. "They think we're primitive. They think we can't win. Let's teach the galaxy what humans do when there's no retreat and no surrender." The defense preparations began. Throughout the colony, every person capable of holding a tool or piloting a ship volunteered. They would fight not because they expected to win, but because the alternative was unthinkable. The SOS had been sent. The galaxy had chosen not to answer. Now humanity would show them what that choice meant. The Council observation fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel 48 hours after the estimated battle conclusion. Commander Zelik of the Avirath Survey Corps expected to find debris fields and perhaps a few escape pods. Instead, his sensors showed something impossible. Colony Station Epsilon was intact. More than intact, it was operational, with full life support and communication systems active. And surrounding it, scattered across thousands of kilometers, was the wreckage of the Krell Armada. "Scan again," Zelik ordered. "This cannot be correct." His sensor officer, a cautious Quilnari named Depth Walker, ran 3 complete scans. "Commander, the data is accurate. The colony stands. The Krell fleet was destroyed. I am detecting," he paused, recalculating. "I am detecting wreckage from 53 Krell warships and over 200 smaller human vessels." Zelik felt his feathers rise in shock. 200 vessels. The humans had committed everything they had. A communication request came from the colony. Zelik accepted it. A human woman appeared on screen, her face exhausted but composed. She wore a burned and torn uniform. "This is Admiral Park Ji-won of Colony Station Epsilon. Welcome, Council Fleet. We appreciate you coming to check on us." "Admiral," Zelik said carefully, "we were sent to recover survivors. We did not expect. How is this possible?" Park's expression remained neutral. "You want to know how we won? Yes. Then I will show you. Sending you our battle recordings now. But I warn you, Commander, they are difficult to watch." The recordings arrived. Zelik watched them with growing horror and amazement. What the humans had done was either brilliant or insane. Possibly both. The battle had begun 16 hours after the SOS transmission. The Krell Armada arrived at Colony Station Epsilon, expecting easy prey. What they found was every human ship within range. Over 200 vessels of wildly different types, arranged in defensive formations that made no tactical sense to standard military doctrine. The Krell had opened fire immediately. 3 human patrol ships were destroyed in the first volley. Then the humans did something unexpected. They charged. Mining ships, massive and ungainly, accelerated directly toward the Krell warships. The Krell fired again, destroying 2 more miners. But the remaining vessels reached ramming distance. The impacts destroyed both the mining ships and their Krell targets. Zelik watched in shock as human pilots deliberately crashed their vessels into enemy ships, sacrificing themselves to even the odds. But the recordings showed something else. The mining ships had been evacuated. They were being piloted by artificial intelligence systems. Crude, but effective. The human crews had already transferred to other vessels before the suicide runs began. Wasteful, the Krell commander had probably thought. Primitive tactics. Then the cargo haulers attacked. These massive ships, designed to carry supplies across star systems, had been converted into weapons platforms. Their cargo bays were filled with improvised explosives. They used their powerful chemical propulsion systems to execute maneuvers that should have torn them apart. Standard military doctrine used clean fusion drives. They were efficient and controllable. Human chemical propulsion was dirty, dangerous, and incredibly powerful. It let them change direction faster than Krell targeting systems could track. The cargo haulers released their explosive payloads like ancient depth charges. The Krell shields, designed to stop energy weapons and solid projectiles, were not optimized for massive chemical explosions at close range. Ship after ship suffered catastrophic damage. Then the personal craft swarm attacked. Yachts, shuttles, transports, even short-range atmospheric craft modified with emergency life support. Hundreds of small vessels, each carrying improvised weapons, overwhelmed the Krell point defense systems. Through sheer numbers, Zelik watched as a luxury yacht, its hull decorated with family photos visible in the recording, fired modified mining lasers at a Krell cruiser's sensor array. The yacht was destroyed seconds later, but the cruiser was now blind. The turning point came when a young human engineer implemented something extraordinary. Lieutenant Choi Min-ji had taken the colony's massive terraforming equipment, atmospheric processors designed to make planets habitable, and reprogrammed them as directed energy weapons. The atmospheric processors generated powerful magnetic fields to control planetary weather systems. Choi had turned those fields into electromagnetic pulse weapons. 3 Krell ships lost all power simultaneously, drifting helplessly as human forces closed in. The battle lasted 8 hours. When it ended, the Krell armada was destroyed. But the cost had been terrible. Over 60% of the human forces were gone. Thousands of people had died, many in those initial suicide runs. Zelik turned off the recording. His hands were shaking. "Admiral Park," he said slowly, "your people fought with courage I have rarely witnessed, but this victory was purchased at great cost." Park's expression remained controlled. Yes, every person who died was someone's family, someone's friend. We remember them all. The Krell are considered a Tier 2 military threat. They have destroyed colonies belonging to species far more advanced than yours. How did you defeat them? Because we had to, Park said simply. The council said help would take 6 days. We had 16 hours. So we used what we had. Mining ships became weapons. Cargo haulers became bombs. Civilian craft became fighters. And people who had never been soldiers became warriors. Because their families needed them to be. Zelik understood something then. The humans had not won because of superior technology or numbers. They had won because retreat was not in their vocabulary. Not when civilians needed defending. "I will report this to the council," Zelik said. "Please do," Park replied. "And tell them something for me. We sent an SOS because we believe in cooperation. We believe in asking for help, but we also believe in fighting when help doesn't come. The galaxy should understand both sides of humanity." The transmission ended. Zelik began preparing his report, knowing it would change how the council viewed humanity forever. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from every member species filled the seats and observation galleries. News of the human victory at Colony Station Epsilon had spread throughout known space in just 3 days. What should have been a memorial service had become an emergency strategy session. Counselor Vexthar stood at the central podium, his golden feathers reflecting the harsh chamber lights. Before him floated holographic displays, showing the battle recordings from every angle. "Honored members," Vexthar began. "We have analyzed the Battle of Colony Station Epsilon from multiple perspectives. Our conclusions are both troubling and enlightening." He activated the first display. It showed the Krell fleet composition. The Krell armada consisted of 50 warships, including 12 heavy cruisers. This force has successfully destroyed 4 colonies in the past decade, belonging to species with centuries more military experience than humanity. The display shifted to show the human defensive fleet. The assembled council members made sounds of surprise and confusion. The human vessels were a chaotic mix of industrial and civilian craft. "The humans deployed everything they had," Vexthar continued. "Mining equipment, cargo vessels, personal spacecraft. They converted civilian infrastructure into weapons in less than 16 hours. Our tactical analysts have spent 3 days studying their methods." Then, the reptilian hegemony representative spoke up. Their tactics were reckless. The casualty rate was unacceptable by any military standard. 60% losses would be considered a catastrophic defeat. "And yet they won," Vexthar replied calmly. "That is what troubles our analysts. By every conventional measure, they should have been destroyed. Instead, they annihilated a superior force." A Quilnari counselor raised a tentacle. "How is this possible? Our own military simulations predict total Krell victory in 97% of scenarios." Vexthar had been studying this question extensively. He activated a new display showing human tactics broken down into categories. 3 factors contributed to human success. First, adaptability. They weaponized equipment never designed for combat. Second, unconventional propulsion. Their chemical drives, which we consider primitive, allowed maneuvers our fusion drives cannot match. Third, he paused, choosing his words carefully. Third, they possess a cultural concept that does not translate easily to most council languages. They call it a last stand. The chamber fell silent. Vexthar continued. "For the past week, I have been researching human history. Their home planet, Earth, is classified as a death world. Gravity 20% higher than standard. Predators in every ecosystem. Weather patterns that generate destructive storms regularly. Humans evolved not as apex predators, but as persistence hunters, who survived by refusing to give up." He pulled up images from human history. Ancient battles, desperate defenses, impossible victories. At a place called Thermopylae, 300 human warriors held a mountain pass against an army of hundreds of thousands. At the Alamo, less than 200 humans defended a fortress against thousands. They lost both battles, but their resistance changed the course of wars. Humans have a phrase: "We go down fighting." Cultural stubbornness is not a military advantage, Kor then objected. "Isn't it?" Vexthar challenged. "Warfare is mathematics, we have always said. Calculate strength. Calculate losses. Calculate probability of success. But humans add a variable we do not account for. Will. The determination to fight when mathematics says you should surrender. Will." Another council member, a crystalline being named Harmony of Light, spoke thoughtfully. "This explains their tactics. The suicide runs, the improvised weapons, the civilian involvement. They were not being reckless. They were being human." Ambassador Jin Su had been sitting quietly in the human delegation area. Now, Vexthar gestured for her to approach the podium. She walked forward, aware of thousands of eyes watching her. "Ambassador," Vexthar said, "please help us understand. Your people sent a distress call. You asked for help. Yet you clearly prepared to fight alone. Why send the SOS at all? Jinsu took a moment to organize her thoughts. We sent the SOS because asking for help is right. Cooperation is what civilized people do. We genuinely hoped the council would respond. But hope is not a strategy. She looked around the chamber. My people fought because we had no choice. Not because we wanted glory or conquest. We fought because 300,000 civilians needed someone to protect them. When the council could not help in time, we became that protection. At tremendous cost, Kor then said. Yes, Jinsu acknowledged. We mourn every person lost. But we would mourn more if we had abandoned civilians to save ourselves. That is not something humans can do. We mourn person. We won. We had with person. We mourn more if we had abandoned. 1707. Vexthar nodded slowly. This brings us to current events. 3 more colonies have sent distress calls in the past 2 days. Krell forces are attacking settlements belonging to the Quilnari, the Methane Collective, and a mixed species research station. These colonies are not human. Do your people care? Jinsu met his eyes. Yes. We care. Suffering is suffering. It does not matter what species feels it. Then I propose something unprecedented, Vexthar announced to the council. We establish a rapid response force with human tactical oversight. Not because humans have the best weapons or ships, but because they have the best will to use them. The chamber erupted in debate. Some species supported the idea immediately. Others, like Kor then, argued that giving humans military authority was dangerous. They are newcomers, Kor then insisted. 50 years in space. We have maintained peace for millennia through careful strategy and overwhelming force. Human recklessness could destabilize everything. Peace maintained through fear is not peace, Vexthar countered. It is merely delayed conflict. The Krell have been raiding colonies for decades. We respond with observation, fleets, and diplomatic protests. The humans responded with action. The debate continued for hours. Finally, a vote was called. By a narrow margin, the council approved the Human Defense Initiative. Humans would train mixed-species rapid response units in their unconventional warfare methods. As the session ended, Kor then approached Jinsu privately. Ambassador, my people have concerns. Your species is capable and determined, but also young and potentially dangerous. What assurance can you give that human military power will not be turned against the council? Jinsu considered the question carefully. None. I cannot promise that future generations of humans will never conflict with other species. But I can tell you this. We fight to protect, not to conquer. We ask for help before we fight alone. And we judge people by their actions, not their species. If the council treats us fairly, we will respond with loyalty. We keep our promises, counselor. Even the hard ones. Kor then studied her for a long moment, then nodded and walked away. Jinsu returned to her office and sent a message to Admiral Park. The galaxy had finally noticed humanity. Now came the hard part, proving they were right to trust them. 6 months after the Battle of Colony Station Epsilon, Admiral Park G1 stood on the bridge of the sea. S. Indomitable, humanity's first purpose-built warship designed for council cooperation. Around her, the crew was a mix of species. Human tactical officers worked alongside Avarath sensor specialists. Quilnari engineers coordinated with human mechanics. It was an experiment that many thought would fail. The distress call came during a routine patrol near the Outer Rim territories. This is Tertius Prime Mining Colony. We are under attack by Krell raiders. Civilian population of 40,000. Multiple species. Requesting immediate assistance. Park's second officer, a young Quilnari named Current Runs Deep, looked up from his station. Admiral, we are 20 minutes away at maximum speed. Long-range sensors show 8 Krell warships. The colony has minimal defenses. Sound general quarters, Park ordered. All hands to battle stations. Communications, contact the colony. Tell them, help is coming. The bridge erupted into controlled activity. Park watched her crew work together smoothly. The past 6 months had been intensive training, teaching Council species the human approach to warfare. Not the technology or weapons, but the mindset. Fight smart when retreat is not an option. Adapt, improvise, never give up. Current runs deep approached Park's command chair. Admiral, with respect, 8 Krell warships against our single vessel is poor odds. Perhaps we should request backup from the Council fleet? The nearest Council ships are 4 hours away, Park replied. The colony has perhaps 30 minutes. We go now. Or we go too late. She pulled up the tactical display. Tertius Prime was primarily a Quilnari settlement, though dozens of other species lived there. The Quilnari were aquatic people, peaceful by nature, with minimal combat experience. Their colony defenses consisted of 2 outdated orbital platforms. Current runs deep. Your people run this colony. Tell me about Tertius Prime's infrastructure. The Quilnari officer's tendrils moved in thought. It is primarily a water processing facility. We extract deuterium from the ocean for fusion reactors throughout this sector. There are also large atmospheric moisture collectors, desalination plants, massive pumping stations. Park smiled. Water systems? High-pressure systems? Yes. Some pumps operate at over 10,000 atmospheres of pressure for deep ocean extraction. Then we have weapons. Get me the colony administrator on comms. Minutes later, the Indomitable dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Tertius Prime. The Krell warships were already bombarding the orbital platforms. One platform was dark, destroyed. The other was failing rapidly. All weapons to full charge, Park ordered. Helm, take us in fast. Pattern. Delta 7. The Indomitable accelerated hard, using the same chemical boost thrusters that had proven effective at Colony Station Epsilon. The sudden burst of speed caught the Krell off guard. Park's ship blazed past 2 Krell vessels, firing particle beams at their shield generators. Damage assessment, Park called. Enemy shields holding, replied the weapons officer, a human named Lee Sung-min. We scratched them, but 8-to-1 odds remain unfavorable. Admiral, then we change the odds. Communications, patch me through to Colony Administrator Depth Touches Stone. A Quilnari face appeared on screen, clearly terrified. Human Admiral, the Krell will breach our habitat dome in minutes. We are evacuating the children to subsurface shelters. But, Administrator, I need you to trust me. You have high-pressure water systems throughout your colony, correct? Yes, but can you redirect them? Turn your pumping stations outward instead of inward. Depth touches. Stone's expression changed from fear to confusion to understanding. You want us to weaponize our water infrastructure. Exactly. The Krell shields are optimized for energy weapons and solid projectiles. A stream of water at 10,000 atmospheres? That is something different. Something unexpected. We would need to reconfigure the entire pumping network. That would take 18 minutes, Park said. I know, because humans did it in 16 hours back home. You have the instructions we transmitted. Your people are brilliant engineers. I believe you can do this. Depth Touches Stone hesitated only a moment. Then, determination filled his features. We will try. Park switched back to tactical. All ships, listen carefully. We are about to teach the Krell that humans are not the only species who can improvise. The next 15 minutes were among the most intense of Park's career. The Indomitable danced between Krell warships, using its superior maneuverability to avoid taking critical damage. Lee Sung-min targeted weapons and sensors, not trying to destroy enemy ships, but to harass and distract them. Admiral, current runs, Deep reported. I am reading massive power buildups in the colony's water systems. Administrator Depth Touches Stone reports they are ready. Colony defenses, You are cleared to engage, Park transmitted. What happened next would be studied at military academies for generations. Tertius Prime's water pumping stations, designed to extract resources from crushing ocean depths, redirected their output towards space. Streams of high-pressure water erupted from dozens of points across the colony surface. The first stream struck a Krell cruiser's shield generators. Water, moving at tremendous velocity, carried kinetic energy that the shields could not fully dissipate. The shield flickered and died. Atmosphere vented from hull breaches as the water pressure literally punctured the ship's armor. "Target their damaged ships," Park ordered. "Concentrate fire." The Indomitable's particle beams tore into the crippled Krell cruiser. It exploded brilliantly. 7 Krell ships remained. They began to withdraw, realizing this colony would not fall easily. But Park was not finished. "All civilian craft in Tertius Prime," she transmitted on open channels. "If you are willing and able, join the fight. Cargo ships, mining craft, personal vessels. We need you." Current Runs Deep looked shocked. "Admiral, these are not warriors. Most Quilnari have never fired weapons. Neither had most humans at Colony Station Epsilon," Park replied. "But they learned. Courage is not the absence of fear. Current runs deep. It is fighting despite fear." Slowly, hesitantly, civilian craft began launching from Tertius Prime. Quilnari cargo vessels, mining ships, adapted for deep ocean work, even small atmospheric shuttles. Over 100 craft, crewed by people who had been hiding in shelters minutes before. Park transmitted instructions, coordinating the civilian fleet using the tactics humans had developed. Swarm tactics. Overwhelming numbers. Converted industrial equipment as improvised weapons. The Krell tried to retreat, but the civilian fleet, guided by Park's strategic coordination and inspired by human determination, pursued them. 2 more Krell ships were destroyed. The remaining 5 escaped into faster-than-light travel, fleeing rather than face further losses. The battle was over. Tertius Prime was saved. Park walked down to the Indomitable's docking bay where shuttles from the colony were arriving. Administrator Depth Touches Stone was among the first to board. He approached Park and performed the Quilnari gesture of profound respect. "Admiral Park, my people have always believed courage meant fearlessness. Today you taught us it means fighting despite fear. You taught us to turn our own infrastructure into weapons. You taught us that miners and engineers can be warriors when necessary. I taught you what humans learned." Park replied gently. "We are not special. We simply refuse to surrender when people need protecting. Today, your people learned the same lesson." Word of the Battle of Tertius Prime spread throughout the galaxy. The Human Defense Initiative gained 30 more volunteer species within a week. The galaxy was learning that humanity's greatest gift was not technology or weapons. It was the will to fight, and the wisdom to teach others to do the same. The Galactic Council chamber was filled with angry voices. Admiral Park Ji-won stood at the central podium, her expression calm despite the chaos around her. She had just presented the most controversial proposal in Council history. "You want us to attack the Krell homeworld?" Korthen's voice was sharp with disbelief. "To launch an invasion into their territory? This is madness." "This is necessity," Park replied evenly. "Krell raids have increased 40% in the past 8 months. They are becoming more desperate, more aggressive. We can defend colonies, one at a time, or we can end the threat permanently." Councillor Vexthar spoke from his seat. "Admiral, most Council species have purely defensive military forces. Offensive warfare is culturally unacceptable to many of us. We defend. We do not invade. With respect, Councillor. Defense without resolution is just waiting for the next attack. We need to understand why the Krell are raiding. If possible, we need to stop them at the source." Ambassador Jin Su stood beside Park. "The Council does not compel any species to participate. This would be a volunteer force only, but we believe if we do not act, the Krell will continue killing civilians across the galaxy." The debate lasted 6 hours. Finally, a compromise was reached. A volunteer fleet would enter Krell territory, but only to gather intelligence and, if possible, negotiate. Force would be a last resort, not the primary goal. The response surprised everyone. 40 species volunteered ships and crew. They had seen what human determination could achieve. They wanted to be part of that strength. 3 months later, Operation Last Stand began. A combined fleet of 300 ships from dozens of species jumped into Krell space. Admiral Park commanded from the Indomitable, with representatives from each participating species on her bridge. The fleet expected heavy resistance. Instead, they found something shocking. The Krell homeworld was dying. Admiral, current runs, deep reported from sensors. I am reading massive environmental damage across the planet. Atmospheric toxicity is approaching lethal levels. Ocean acidification is extreme. This world will be uninhabitable. Within 20 years, Park stared at the tactical display. Are all Krell worlds like this? Scanning their other colonies now, replied an Avarath sensor officer. Confirmed. 4 Krell-controlled worlds, all showing similar patterns of environmental collapse. Ambassador Jin Su, present via communication link from the council station, spoke quietly. A transmission came from the Krell homeworld. The image showed a Krell queen, her insectoid features marked by exhaustion. She spoke through a translation device. Human fleet. Council fleet. You have come to destroy us. We understand. We have raided your colonies, killed your people. But please, if you have mercy, allow our eggs to survive. Our children did not choose this war. Park exchanged glances with her bridge crew. Your Majesty, we came to end the raids, but we need to understand why they started. Your worlds are dying. What happened? The Krell Queen was silent for a long moment. Then she began to explain. 2 centuries ago, the Krell had developed industrial technology rapidly, mining their planets aggressively to fuel expansion. They had ignored environmental consequences. By the time they realized their mistake, the damage was irreversible. Their scientists estimated complete ecosystem collapse within 50 years. The Krell had raided other colonies not for conquest, but for resources to save their species. Terraforming equipment, water purification systems, genetic diversity from other worlds to help their populations adapt. We are dying, the Queen said simply. We chose to become monsters if it meant our children might survive. We knew the galaxy would eventually stop us, but we hoped to save enough of our species before that happened. Park felt a weight settle on her shoulders. The Krell were not evil conquerors. They were desperate refugees who had made terrible choices. She muted the transmission and turned to her command staff. Options? Kor then, present as a military observer, spoke first. We destroy them. They have committed atrocities. Justice demands. Justice is not revenge, Park interrupted. And humans know the difference. Lieutenant Lee Sung-min, her weapons officer, spoke thoughtfully. Admiral, we came here to stop the raids. If we destroy the Krell, the raids stop. But we also destroy an entire species, including those eggs the Queen mentioned. The children who never chose this war. Current Runs Deep added, the Quilnari have a saying. The ocean does not ask why the swimmer is drowning. It simply lifts or drowns equally. Perhaps we should ask not what the Krell deserve, but what kind of galaxy we want to build. Park nodded slowly. Ambassador Jin Su, I need emergency council authorization. We are going to offer the Krell a deal. Jin Su worked frantically behind the scenes. Councillor Vex Thar, who had become humanity's strongest council ally, pushed the proposal through with unprecedented speed. Within hours, Park had her authorization. She unmuted the transmission to the Krell Queen. Your Majesty, the Council offers you a choice. Stop all raids immediately. Submit your military leaders to trial for war crimes against civilians. In exchange, the Council will help relocate your species and restore your worlds. Our terraforming technology, freely shared. Our resources, offered in cooperation. Your species survives, but you must earn that survival through peace. The Krell Queen's compound eyes seemed to shine. Why would you help us, after what we have done? Because humans sent an SOS once, Park replied. We asked for help, and the galaxy was too slow to answer. We learned what it means to fight alone, but we also learned that the strongest thing you can do is admit you need help. Your people are drowning, Your Majesty. We are offering to pull you from the water, but you must stop fighting the rescue. The Krell Queen consulted with advisors off-screen. The tension on Park's bridge was overwhelming. If the Krell refused, battle was inevitable. Finally, the Queen returned. We accept. I will surrender myself and my military commanders to Council justice. Please, save our children. The war ended not with a final battle, but with a treaty. Krell military leaders were tried for their crimes. Some were punished severely, but the species itself was given a chance to survive. 1 year later, Admiral Park stood at the rebuilt colony station Epsilon. It had been transformed into a multi-species cooperation hub. Humans worked alongside Quilnari, Avirath, and even Krell. The former enemies now collaborated on terraforming projects, sharing technology and knowledge. A young Krell, barely mature, approached Park hesitantly. She had been learning human history and customs. Admiral Park, I have a question. Your people sent a distress call asking for help. Then you fought alone and won. Then you helped my people, your former enemies. I do not understand human logic. Park smiled gently. We sent the SOS because asking for help is not weakness. It is trust. We fought because protecting others is not optional. And we helped your people because mercy is stronger than revenge. But why? The young Krell pressed. Why show mercy to those who hurt you? Because building a better galaxy means making better choices than those who came before us. Your leaders made terrible choices, driven by desperation. We could make the same mistake, driven by anger, or we could choose something harder. Forgiveness, cooperation, building. Instead of destroying, Park walked to the memorial wall, where thousands of names were carved. Every person who had died in that first desperate battle. The young Krell followed. We remember those who died, Park said. We honor their sacrifice by being better than our worst moments. By helping instead of hurting. By answering distress calls. Even from former enemies. Ambassador Jin Su joined them, having traveled from the Council station for the anniversary ceremony. Admiral, the Council has been analyzing our success, Jin Su said. 47 species have adopted human rapid response protocols. Raids by all hostile forces have dropped 60%. Cooperation between species is at an all-time high. Because we taught them to fight? Park asked. Because we taught them that fighting is not the only answer. That asking for help is strength. That mercy can be more powerful than weapons. Jin Su looked at the memorial wall. When humanity sent that first SOS, we showed the galaxy our vulnerability. Then we showed them our strength. Then we showed them our wisdom. That complete picture is what changed everything. The young Krell touched the memorial wall gently. These humans died protecting others. Now humans protect even their enemies' children. This is true strength. Park placed a hand on the young Krell's shoulder. Strength is not just power. It is knowing when to fight, when to ask for help, and when to offer it. The galaxy is learning that lesson together now. She looked up at the stars visible through the station windows. Somewhere out there, other species were facing their own crises. But now they knew they did not have to face them alone. The SOS humanity had sent so long ago had become something greater. A promise that help would come. That mercy existed. That the galaxy could be better than its worst moments. That was humanity's true gift to the stars. Not weapons or tactics, but hope